Hello, and welcome to Geeks Assembled. And today we are discussing a 1970s movie, a classic comedy. And I'm just looking on the front of my DVD cover, and I think it's spelt wrong. We're talking Young Frankenstein, a Mel Brooks classic. So, without further ado, we'll go to Beefhead because we haven't seen him for a while. What's your opening thoughts of this movie, Beefhead?
Yes, hello. Biff Jr. here. Not the original, but some might say somewhat twisted, altered version of The Elder. Yeah, 1974, 3 years before I was born. But hey, who can date it? It's a lovely film. You have to have an appreciation of the original source material to have something like this. And it's a brilliant pastiche. But done with love, as all of Mel Brooks's type of movies are. You know, the silent movie, your Blazing Saddles. There's a love and an admiration for what comes from it. And this isn't just written by Mel Brooks. This is co-written by Gene Wilder as well, who is tremendous as Frederick Fronkonsteen. You've just got a great gelling of everyone in this. Cloris Leachman, Gene Wilder, Terry Garr, Kenneth Mars as Inspector Kemp, who's a huge favourite of mine, with his wooden hand, and the monster itself. It's something that's done with love. There's brilliant gags for ages 8 to 80 with it. And what it does is it doesn't just take the original Frankenstein movie as well. It touches on the ones afterwards. So you've got Bride of Frankenstein, so you've got all these things all put together in this great melting pot. You have a monster that talks. You have a hilarious cameo by Gene Hackman. Opening thoughts. It's tremendous. And obviously we'll get into the finer points as we go. I'll let someone else chat.
Thanks for that, Beef. Well, we'll go from Junior. We'll go to Senior, shall we? Are you there, Beef Dad?
More or less.
Good up.
This has always been one of my favourite films since it came out. The cast is just incredible. Cloris Leachman as Frau Blucher. No, it's just superb. Madeline Kahn. I mean, the Our Sweet Mystery of Life scene is just absolutely brilliant. And that goes back to a very early film, which I must admit I did see. Marty Feldman is just incredible as Igor. He really is so funny, so clever. The whole cast are good. There isn't a weak point in this at all. The scene with the little girl that they recreated and yet did totally differently. It's absolutely superb and so funny. And of course, nobody got killed, which is one of the joys in this. Although the one person that did get killed, they cut that scene. They cut the scene. That's when the monster is a guy tries to rob the monster, and ends up not surviving the experience. But yeah, I also absolutely love Peter Boyle doing the creature, and I will always remember my son watching this for the very first time, and I used to just to amuse him, I used to sing the song, and he would do the monsters line. Yeah, great fun. We had a wonderful time watching it together, and yeah, it's just a piece of cinema magic.
Yes, that was my word, magic. Yeah.
Well, maybe at the end of the cast we might get a rendition of Father and Son of that song. Now you've said it. Stephen Price, what's your opening thoughts on Young Frankenstein?
Yeah, I seen this movie. First Mel Brooks movie I watched was Blazing Saddles, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, you've got to watch this other Mel Brooks film, which is Young Frankenstein. Never heard of it. What is it? What's it about like and all this and that?" I said it's a comedy, and I just roared in with laughter. Marty Feldman is brilliant in it. They use the actual props from the original Frankenstein movie. I've watched it, I don't know, many times. It's one of Mel Brooks's best movies, and it's never aged. And the part that really made me laugh out loud was the part with Gene Hackman, saying, have a cigar, and his thumb goes on fire. I just couldn't stop laughing at that part. And Marty Feldman and Gene Wilder are digging his grave up. And he said, and Marty Feldman says it could be worse, could be raining, and it pours down. So many good bits in the movie.
Yeah, now to that scene, I can just see you as the character of Igor now, because someone's always talking about rain. Let's go to Susan and Alex.
I was, as I mentioned before the cast, I was, when I wasn't watching Marx Brothers movies or other similar items in comedy, I was sort of influenced by Mel Brooks and Woody Allen, even though I know we're not discussing him in terms of the 70s. I've seen this on TV. I've seen it edited. I've seen it in the theater. I've seen a revival of it. Same thing like Blazing Saddles. Same thing with Spaceballs, which they're supposed to be doing a sequel to finally. And he's very good at that. He's very good at having so many characters thrown up at the screen at once. They're all funny. They all have personalities. The jokes, when they work perfectly. With Young Frankenstein, I know it was a pastiche, but it's very funny. The cast is very good. There's a lot of hilarious one-liners that work every time, and that's what it's supposed to do. And, of course, all the innuendo. And, of course, you love the part where Gene Wilder says to Marty Feldman, sit down. And Igor sits on the floor. And he goes, no. Sit in the chair. And he goes, now, the brain you got. I mean, what's this, the Honeymooners or the Flintstones? This brain you got, what was the name? Abby something. I mean, there's so many, funny one-liners and funny scenes. It's not politically correct, but it's not supposed to be. And like I said, up until the middle 80s, there was a lot of movies shown of both Mel Brooks and Woody Allen. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see him when he was in Boston. I guess he's getting close to 90, and hopefully he does 6 more funny projects before he literally retires. But like I said, it's a great movie. It's very funny. It's scary without being too scary, but it's still funny. Then it is funny when you realize that it's Gene Hackman as a stranger, and then you see Peter Boyle's reactions, which is another wonderful part of comedy is that if the audience can instantly relate, and that's what you want with science fiction and comedy and horror. If the audience can relate right away, you're doing a wonderful job, and that's how it's supposed to be. So if you can set up the scenario, and then of course putting on the Ritz as well, their version of putting on the Ritz, which has been redone many times, and I've seen plenty of people in Boston thinking that is hilarious, thinking the scenes with Gene Hackman are hilarious. The the scenes with Igor, the scenes with Kenneth Mars, just it's a really good film, and it's also great that it is an older type of humor, but it's still very funny. And I think that's the other reason why it's a classic, because everybody, even if you don't like it, I've rarely seen anybody watching this movie that doesn't laugh, that doesn't like one of the characters. And that's what good movie making is that if you pull in the audience and they love it and they enjoy it, that's exactly, what it's supposed to be. And it's also stood the test of time. It's in, it's 95% perfect, if not more. It's just very funny.
And how much I enjoyed like the the real connection to the old movie. The older movie was out of this world, so good, and this one, it lined up, but it was so funny, and I laughed and laughed, and I mean, Igor with his eye is like, and it's like that. That's like Igor, wall-eyed AF. Anyway, just yeah. And I really love the Madeline Kahn romance sort of thing. That was pretty funny, pretty precious. Anyway, so Alex said putting on the Ritz bit. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Anyway, so yeah, that's my bit.
Thanks, Susan. Well, it always brings me joy to whip it out every year, and also watch this DVD. You see, on PC, you take away all that from a comedy, it's not funny. Yeah, it is a classic. For me, I love the chemistry between Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman. Yeah, just brilliant together. If any of you guys ever get the chance, you may have seen the movie. If you ever get the chance to see Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman in another movie called The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother, please watch it because it is so good. But going back to Young Frankenstein, yeah, I agree with everything what everybody said. It's a classic. The actors in this having a blast. Cloris Leachman as Frau Blucher. It's just awesome. She's whatever she's in. She's just brilliant. For me, Mel Brooks is one of the best producers, directors, or writers. I've got every movie he's done. I discovered him, when I was young. This was 1974, Young Frankenstein. When I was 4, so even before Beefhead was thought of. Yeah, it's a laugh out loud. It's I can't fault this movie. There's not one bit in this movie where you think that we could have done without that. It's from beginning to end. There's a laugh every part of the movie. There is something there, and to say the scenery, and also to add to it is the black and white. They put it black and white. It just adds to it for me. As I say, I can't fault it. Peter Boyle as the monster, or as the creature, shall we say, is his name. Brilliant performance. And Madeleine Kahn, she was a stalwart of the Mel Brooks movies as well. You can't knock her. And what's that saying? What knockers or something like that at the beginning of the movie? When it was sorry, that just came to mind when I mentioned Madeleine Kahn. Anyways, I will open the floor up here, so anybody who wants to jump in, with some tidbits or favourite moments or things like that, feel free. I will have a little chin-wag about it all.
Well, like Steve said, and like you said, the look and the feel completely evokes the original. It's not just the fact that it's in black and white, but the music, the way it's filmed, the very close-up eye shots and everything like that are very reminiscent of the original and the way the movies were made at the time. It looks like, the set-wise, it just looks like they've basically taken out the actors from the original and supplanted them into that set. It just looks like it's completely authentic and of the moment. Like Steve said, and I think my dad will probably echo with the same thing, is that when they were making it, Mel Brooks wanted the machinery to look accurate. So he went to the guy who did the original machinery and said, "Can you reproduce this for me?" He said, "I don't need to reproduce it. I've got it in my garage." And basically just took so what you see machinery-wise and the whirs and everything like that is exactly what you saw in the original. It's amazing. And when you think about it, Mel Brooks is such a groundbreaker, and sort of that's why he deserves the comedy status, and he's a prolific comedy writer even now. He's 92 years old. That you can think of all the sort of scary movies, all the Zucker brother movies, all the ones that you've had since then. The sort of laugh, the Joker minute type movies owe a lot to this. And the thing is, in 1974, to do a movie like this, and to make, he's the king, I think, of the fourth wall break, because like my dad said, you've got the very famous flower girl scene and everything like that. "Oh, I love my pretty little flowers," and she's everything there. "Oh no, I've run out of flour. What do we throw now?" And there's this one look that he just does to the camera. The only other person who really does that, and more than anyone else, is Marty Feldman, because he's just got this great look to him as well. With the bug eyes, he's perfect for Igor. He just makes the joke that it's basically a family business, being a henchman. He's completely blissfully unaware that he has a hump, and and what's the great thing about this is that you can tell that the cast had such a blast making this. On all accounts, it was very funny to make, because they were just cracking up in fits of laughter all the time. There's the bit at the end where Madeleine Kahn shows up and Igor bites her fur wrap, and they had to do untold amounts of takes of that. And if you look at the cast, if you know the gag, you can see them really trying to stifle their laughs, because every time he would do that, he would end up coming away with it with a mouthful of fur and all over his face. And when you watch that, you can see them really struggling not to break on it. But there's so many points to it, and Gene Wilder has had this amazing talent, I think, that we haven't really seen comedy-wise, that he can go from 0 to 60 emotion-wise. He can go from calm, reserved, to screaming like a petulant child within the space of 30 seconds, which is perfect for someone who's playing like this sort of, calm professional doctor in the streets, freak crazy ass doctor in the sheets. So that's the great thing about him. You just have these amazingly gifted actors who've got brilliant comic timing. And who would have thought Gene Hackman could do comedy? He wanted to do it as an experiment. They said, "Oh no, we'll just let him do it and see if it works out," to be honest with you. And the thing is, a riot is an ugly thing. The other thing that this movie has is that you would have, your stereotypical Eastern European accents. None of it's screen accurate. Like you say, it's not PC. It's like, was is this, and everything like that. It's done like, like the German accents you would get in Hogan Heroes, but you were willing to overlook that because it works so tremendously.
Yeah. Dignity and grace.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned the hump. I mean, that made me laugh when it kept swapping each side every time. The look from Gene Wilder was just amazing. But I don't know if it was done on purpose, but the false arm swapped at one point. Did you notice?
Let's see, which one is it? It's dum, bum, 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 bum. No, I think it's always the right.
No, but when they were searching for the monster on the moors or wherever, he went like that. He went shh and told him to be quiet, and he used his left, and he went shh.
Yeah.
You could be correct.
Because he was walking from right to left.
I think he's always a righty because it's something when a guy lights his cigar off of his flaming finger, pushes it round, and then like dunks it into the beer. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, the dart scene was brilliant with with the fingers.
Yeah. He pulls him out the board and just like stakes it into his arm like that. It's like
There's so many good things in this. Carry on.
Yeah, with Gene Wilder and the girl go into this room, and they see like skulls on the
3 years
on the
dead,
shelf.
2 years dead. Nearly
I ain't
dead.
got nobody.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, that's the other thing about the the laugh a minute. I mean, that's the thing. It does. Oh, if it wasn't for Mel Brooks, there wouldn't be any Airplane or any of those other movies that he sort of pioneered this laugh a minute gag, and it works.
I mean, the thing is, he didn't only base it on the Unsweet Mystery of Life.
Good last.
Actually comes from a very old film called Naughty Marietta, starring Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Now that gives you an idea of
Was it so old it was filmed by Torchlight?
Yeah. And of course, Marty Feldman. He'd been quite a big star on British television since 1967, when he started in the 1948 show. And he was just brilliant in that, brilliantly funny. His comedy timing is just absolutely second to none.
Is that with like Michael Palin and is that with those guys, or was that with who was that with?
David Frost.
The Frost. That's right.
Yeah,
Was Peter Cook in the 1948 show? I think it was.
Yeah, David Frost was in the 1948 show. And it's so sad that he died quite young. But yeah, he was really funny. I've already mentioned the Madeline Kahn bit with the Our Sweet Mystery of Life. What I loved is when they'd done the brain transfer bit between Frankenstein and the creature, and Terry Garr and Gene Wilder are in the bedroom together, and she says to him, we know that what he got from that transference. Did you get anything? And then the next minute you hear her singing, Sweet Mystery of Life, at last I found you, which was just so brilliant. And Schwanz, you know what that is.
that goes without saying.
Yeah, he's extremely popular at parties.
Oddly enough, it also means tail in German.
As in getting a bit of
Yeah.
It's Van Stoker.
But as far as I remember, though, I think it was Gene Wilder what went to Mel Brooks with the idea of this.
That's right.
And then they got together and they wrote it together. So, two brilliant bands comes up with it. It's just
Genius
it's
is
cool.
the pair of them.
Yeah, and there was a bit of argument, wasn't there, about some of the scenes that they wanted to keep in, not put in, and they had a lot of fallings out in the production of it because he thought the bit where Igor first meets Frederick Fronkonsteen at the station, walk this way and then offers him his cane so he can mimic him going down the stairs. He thought that was too cliche a gag, but it works perfectly.
It's so funny.
Yeah, Mel Brooks thought that the putting on the Ritz, the presentation to all the Dames and Herren, Madame and Monsieur, wasn't going to work. And when he saw it, then he sort of acquiesced and said, "Okay, fine, it's in." Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, because he felt it took away from it being what it was of the original. It's just like it's a meeting of minds that really made something that is cinema magic.
I mean, that's the other thing too. Just like Blazing Saddles, that you think is something's going to happen, and it does, but it happens a different way. Just like Blazing Saddles.
They pay it off. It's like my dad said with the mind transference. Yeah, it's going to be 15 minutes, not a second more, not a second less. And it's like, okay, you're foreshadowing that they're basically going to storm in on this, and it's all going to go belly up.
No, but I mean, right. But unless I've bumped into people that they really don't like Mel Brooks, which is very rare, most of his movies, people really laugh. Like I've seen people watching Young Frankenstein or Blazing Saddles. They may not like the constant use of the N-word, but everything else they love. All the other scenes where the sheriff is riding into town with the Count Basie orchestra behind him. I mean, they just love it. So it's very funny. It's a gag a minute, laugh a minute. Sometimes it's like a cartoon. Other times it's not. But it's not a totally unrealistic cartoon where people go, "Oh, that's not funny at all," or they may think it's slightly rude, but it is. But that's part of the reason why they're laughing too. And it's just I've seen lots of people watch his movies and 95% they just love it. I mean, and they're laughing. They're laughing because they're taken by surprise, but they're not really offended or mad or anything. It surprises them, but it's a pleasant surprise.
It's because it is proper comedy.
Right.
It's not what you get today, because today's comedies, you can find them in the bottom of a bin, but there is a scene in this movie what I always find myself giggling away to myself, even without realizing I am giggling away, is the revolving bookcase scene. That to me always makes me laugh. Put the candle back. I've got an idea. I will block books with my body.
Listen very carefully.
It's just giggling away to it. So, anybody got anything else to want to put into the melting pot while we're at it?
Yeah, there is a part where he says, "I'm going into this room now. The monster's in there. Whatever happens, I scream or bang on the door. Just don't, He goes in there, let me out, and all that. And he's there with the monster. And he goes, "Hello, handsome." And the monster's going, "Oh." And he ends up, the monster's crying and he's hugging him.
That's a good scene where he's banging to come out the door. Yeah, I was only. Yeah, that is a good scene.
Yeah, said again. Yeah,
there's something else as well that is sort of like, I'm not sure. Yeah, my father would probably have to correct you on German because he lives in German land. Is that Frau Blucher? Blauker is supposed to mean like glue or something like that.
Yeah.
which is why every time the name Frau Blucher is mentioned, it's why the horses react, because in the olden days before ethical treatment to animals, sometimes horses were boiled down to make glue.
Oh.
But there was also something else that you've got to love about the way the movie ends as well. Like my dad said, what did you get from the transfer? Who really got the best end of the deal? Because you have this amazing transformation as well that you have with that's mimicking Elsa Lanchester from Bride of Frankenstein. That you have the iconic big hair with the white lightning stripes going up the side, and he's now living the life of a kept man and everything like that. It's sort of like, rather than actually using the voice that he's been given and the ability of speech, now he's there listening to this nagging harridan, and all he can cope with is because he's just like completely browbeaten now. So you wonder who really got the best end of the deal. And then the perfect ending to it is Marty Feldman, just on the outcrop of the castle, playing the horn. And you remember when they're trying to attract the monster, they're playing the violin with the music and everything like that, and he's there just waiting for that moment to jump in with just to make the little reprise of the horn, to be honest with you. I love that there's just so many little touches that you always carry away from this.
Well, I mean, just like I said before, I mean, that's the ironic and good part of horror, sci-fi, and comedy, is that there is parts of life that are raw, but it's the way you write it and the way you act it that makes it, very funny. And I think the problem is that it's way too raw now. And then they either go on too many minutes with it. Keep it short and sweet. You get a good hearty laugh. You don't have to go on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or longer. And that's the thing about the Mel Brooks, is that, I've seen people's reaction when they're watching it. They can relate to the characters. It's not hard to follow. They can relate to, even when Mel Brooks is on the screen, he's taking big, and also, Harvey Korman, even though he's breaking Blazing Saddles, he's breaking the walls all over the place. But the way he does it, he doesn't go super wild. He doesn't go on and on and on. He does little bits, but then as the movie goes on, then he even breaks the wall. They go offset even. So talk about the ultimate, breaking of the wall. They even run off the set and into the studio and into the commissary. So, I mean, and I love watching people's reaction to that. They go, oh, my God,
But that doesn't happen in this because,
right.
I'll
because
tell
it's
you,
the old set of the old movie.
Right.
I'll tell you something now. Alex Moss won't even have to be on the Blazing Saddle cast, because he's talked about that as well.
He's emptied the bag.
Yes, well, because Blazing Saddles at the moment is winning on the other poll we're doing. So
we approve in this household.
But as Beef mentioned as well, scenes with the violin and Marty Feldman with the horn, the violin music in this is wonderful. The music score in this film is brilliant. Just had to give a thumbs up to music score on this.
And it's one of those ones you can walk away and still whistle it afterwards. Yeah. It will always stick with you for some reason. It passed the old grey whistle test.
So, anybody else want to say anything before we all go off to have a roll in the hay?
Oh dear.
Filming techniques, also like the original one. If you've ever seen any colour photos of set, first of all, this is one of the very few Mel Brooks films in which he never appears on screen. Yeah. The only time you will hear him is doing either the voice of the elder Frankenstein, doing the voice of the cat that gets hit by the dart that goes off screen, and he also does werewolf. He does the werewolf sound as well. But if you think about filming techniques as well, Peter's face, they did green, so basically accentuated everything like that. So the techniques that they used to produce, not just the set, not just the music, everything like that, even the techniques they used to make the original film, they used to make that. How much more can you say that this is a labour of love and appreciation of source material?
This film is appreciated, I think. Yes, Beef Dad. Bob.
You want the song?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Come on then.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? Different types who wear day coats, pants with stripes, and cutaway coats, perfect fits. Dressed up like $1 million trooper, trying hard to look like Gary Cooper.
Super duper!
Let's mix where Rockefellers walk with sticks or umbrellas in their midst.
Oh,
Oh, God. Oh, I've just let me. Dear.
oh my God.
I can't remember the last time we did that. Do you remember, Tim? How long ago was that?
I think flares were still in fashion.
It's got to be at least 30 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh my God.
All right, let me dry my eyes.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Right.
Dignity and grace.
Of course.
Which one's which? Right. If nobody else has got anything to say, we'll do final scene score, shall we? Okay, we will do. Beef Dad, final scene score.
A brilliant piece of cinema, a perfect piece of cinema history, and an unbelievable cast with an incredible story. A platinum 10.
All right. Stephen Price.
Solid 10 for me. Great comedy. Still, after all so many times I've seen it, I still laugh all the way through it.
Cool. And Susan and Alex?
I'll give it 10 nays out of 10.
Well, first I'll ask if anybody wants some Ovaltine, but
For milk.
yeah, I'd have to give this a 9. I still love Blazing Saddles, though, and of course an honorable mention for Spaceballs and Robin Hood Men in Tights. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I've Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. They're probably the biggest of the pop culture, except for Spaceballs. And like I said, almost everybody, 95%, that I've watching the movie, they just love it. And it's such a funny movie. It's so well done. It's done with a perfect rhythm. And that's the other thing with comedy, too. I mean, it's timing, too. It's writing, it's timing. It's how, it's how you, the punchline, it has to be done. It's an art. It has to be done well. And like I said, I've rarely met anyone that didn't like this movie, that didn't laugh at least 200 times while watching this. So I'd give it a 9. I'm going to give Blazing Saddles a 10, though. I just find it more. I know, but I just love the style. I love the style. I just love it.
We're not there yet. Oh
He's
my gosh.
He's jumping the gun. He's jumping the gun again. But I agree with Alex. It's all about timing.
Very funny.
Go over now to the creature. Go to the creature.
Hello there. Yeah. Like I said, it's all about timing. And
Yes.
yeah, as you can tell, I love this movie. There's a reason it lives. It's lived for years. It's because it has an affectionate place in everyone's heart, because it's unashamedly funny, unashamedly great, and amazing. There's two, as it stands at the moment, Mel Brooks movies that have been converted into musicals that have run in Broadway and the West End. This is the most current one, Young Frankenstein. It's running in the UK at the moment. If you're watching in the UK, you can go and see it. It's tremendous. It's got Hedley Fraser in it, Ross Noble, and it's also got what's her face at Birds of a Feather, doing Frau Blucher. I'm a fan so much of Mel Brooks. You don't guess that I really love this movie, do you? I'm no way enthusiastic. I seem completely disparity about it. I have no bias or anything like that. That I went and got him to sign my bloody record. I have this appreciation for it. But yeah, like I said earlier, a riot is an ugly thing, so it's about time we have fun. So if I had to give my score, it would be a 10 from the Beef Younger.
Oh dear me. It's good to have Beefhead on the past a while. What can I say? The producers, the 12 chairs. You've got the Young Frankenstein. You've got Silent Movie. You've got Hit the Bell Part 1. You've got Spaceballs. You've got all
Life
these.
Stinks.
They're just every single movie.
History of the World.
Life Stinks, yes.
History of the World, Part 1 and 2.
High Anxiety.
So good they made a sequel.
Yeah. For me, I am a big
To be or not to be?
fan. Oh yes, yeah. Any more?
Hey, look, you can have it. Yeah. Oh,
And Alex wants you to remember Blazing Saddles.
Alex forgot to mention Blazing Saddles.
I was sort of trying to stay away from that one. Yeah, it's enjoyable from beginning to end. I agree with what everyone says in this cast. It's amazing.
I don't agree with Alex giving it a 9.
And I don't know. Has Mel Brooks been given a honorary knighthood yet?
No, he's 92. Make it quick, please.
Should have. Yes. Is that age now where they should give him one? Yeah, but for me, it's a 10. I'm not giving it a 9. I'm giving it a 10. So on that note, I would like to thank you guys here for turning up and sitting down and watching this movie.
Yes.
Thumbs up for that. Please, everybody out there who's watching, leave a
Like,
comment
share,
below.
comment, and
let us know what you thought of the movie, what you thought of the cast. That's the way. That's it. Yeah. You see, it's all about telling people. But yeah, and also, if you like the members of the cast here, please message us and say which one's your favourite.
Not Alex though, because he doesn't. He watched
come on
Blazing
top.
Saddles and gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yes. Yes. And we wasn't even talking about Blazing Saddles. But hey ho. And on that note, we've talked about Young Frankenstein, we've talked about the actors, we've talked about the characterisation, we've talked about Mel Brooks, and we've had a rendition of Putting on the Ritz. What more do you want from a cast? What more?
Just support your local gunfighter. Watch Blazing Saddles.
Yes. Oh God, I'm losing the will to live. So let's say bye bye now. Let's close this one down and say bye bye before I just lose it all. Bye bye.
As the Count Basie Orchestra plays us out.